I'm Reece, I'm an alcoholic.
Reece!
Yeah, sure. I was thinking this morning, because obviously I didn't plan, try to structure it in my head, but the head's a messy place. Hopefully it comes out the way it should. You know, as Mla was introducing the book, you know, that first half of the book, problem and solution, you know, in detail. So I hope that I can somehow articulate, through my experience, the journey to finding that out. You know, the journey to finding out what my problem was and my solution that's allowed me to stay sober for a little over 5 years. And one thing I've learned this year, especially just talking to some people who have come before me, is, you know, when I had 4 years, I was like, no, I've got this recovery thing down now. One of the biggest lessons I've learned in this 5th year of mine is that this is just the beginning. You know, there's still so much more to learn, to figure out, and I learned that through life. Life taught me that this year. You know, as Reece just piped down. I'm not done with you yet, there's still a lot to come. So it's been a very humbling year for me. I'm very grateful that I sit here sober still, hopefully able to carry a message, you know, to someone that's new in the room. It's kind of thinking, why are people like us sitting in this room? Why am I sitting in this room and not my friends that I started using with? You know, why am I sitting in this room and my brother's not sitting in this room? You know, why do I have to come to these meetings and do these things, and all my friends I was in high school with aren't doing that? I mean, when we were young, we used to drink together. You know, why did I end up here? They halfway across the world, married with kids and living an amazing life. And I was found in the sugarcane field, you know, drunk 5 years ago. So why is it that I sit here, you know, and they don't? Because I thought I was the way I was because of my dad being an alcoholic. I thought it was the upbringing I got brought up in, going to church and having religion forced down my throat. I thought it was the fact that I lived in my brother's shadow. I thought it was my controlling mom. I thought it was the high school I went to. They were very army-like, militant high school. I thought they, suppressed me and took away my individualism or whatever. I thought they indoctrinated me, so I thought it was the high school. I thought it was the ex-girlfriend, and the list just goes on and on and on as to why my life was so messed up and why I was the way I was. To cut that story short, I remember sitting in treatment, and when that delusion was smashed, I was sitting in treatment, I think, for the 3rd time in probably a year and a half, and I probably spent in total over about a year and 2 months in treatment in total. But I remember my family came to visit me, and my brother drove up and he parked, and he got out the car, and his beautiful wife got out the car. And his 2 kids at the time got out the car, and he looked neat, he looked healthy, he had a job, he had a home, like I say, beautiful wife, beautiful family, and running a school for underprivileged kids, and just this, and really just serving and helping people. Really a guy, a loving, good guy, you know. And I was sitting in rehab, and he got out the car, and I remember in that moment it hit me, because I said, hold up, like me and my brother grew up with the same dad. You know, we're in the same environment growing up. The same alcoholic dad, we witnessed the same thing growing up. We witnessed the fighting with my mom. We witnessed the abuse. We witnessed all of that together growing up. We went to exactly the same primary schools. We had the same friends. We hung out growing up. We went to the same church that I blamed. The journey was the same. Why was I sitting in rehab, drunk, and couldn't stay sober, and my brother had his life together? If it was all of those things' fault. You know, and I remember it hit me in that moment as well, and I realized, there's something different about me. There has to be. There's something different about us. You know, it's what I've realized. If I landed my butt in this seat, there's something about me that's different to the people out there that I used to party with, that are still able to party and live life and carry on. You know, because I was always looking at something else in my life for the reason that I was the way I was. And that delusion had to get smashed. There's a line in that book that says, you know, we learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost self. And that was a process of learning. You know, I look back at my journey and I learned that through pain. and through ticking of boxes of pointing the finger to other people and other things, and when those things were gone, and I was still doing the things I was doing, I learned what my problem was, and I cycled through this book. I sat in treatment for 6 months, cycling through this book, understanding the problem, talking about the problem and what alcoholism was. I understood it intellectually. I'd written the steps out numerous times. I'd done step 5, and I understood intellectually what this was about, But one of the guys I was talking to in the past 2 weeks at work shared something powerful about that journey from the head to the heart. It is a long journey. And what that experience was for me was a journey to understanding this in my head, and then the journey through experience where it became real in my heart. And I knew that what was written in that book, I felt it. Yeah, it wasn't up here anymore. It wasn't an intellectual thing. It was in my being. I remember, and I remember that time, the final time I worked through the steps. It was like I was reading a new book. It's like I was completely reading a book that I read it numerous times, but the experience jumped out at me, and it was real. But I'll get to that. Because, when I came here, they told me things like, you got a disease, And I remember sitting in patients, and I'm sure many of you guys know, it's the feel better syndrome. When you get sober, and about a week after I was sober, I used to always feel like better, and I'd hear things like, you got a disease, and my head would go, it's a nice sales pitch, disease. I feel pretty okay. I don't know what they mean by this disease concept, but apparently there's this thing in me that's a disease. So I didn't buy into it, is what I'm trying to say, until I did. But what they speak about in the book, they said things to me like, Reece, you got a physical allergy to alcohol. And I thought, well, when I drink, I feel pretty good. I don't know what they're talking about, this allergy. When I drink, I feel pretty good. I'm not too sure about that. Then they said, Reece, you got this other part of the disease that's a mental obsession. And I also didn't understand that. But now when I look back in hindsight, so hopefully I can share some stories with you guys that you may be able to identify with of those early times drinking. I share this all the time. The reason I drank and used wasn't in the beginning to take away any ill feelings. I drank and used because I loved it, and it felt good. It felt really amazing. I remember being at a friend's house when I was really young, probably about 18 years old. And, I drank and used other substances up until that point, but I remember we were at his house and we were talking and we were kind of playing games and listening to music or whatever, and, he pulled out this bag, and in the bag had these tablets in it. And I'd never taken them, I'd only ever heard about them. I'd heard about them when people came to our school and said, don't do those drugs. And they showed a before and after picture. The girl looked really pretty in the beginning, and after she looked like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. And they're like, don't do this, otherwise that's what you're going to look like. That was the only thing I heard about this drug. But I remember taking it. I took one tablet, and then I waited 5-10 minutes and nothing happened, so I took another one. And then I waited like 5-10 minutes and nothing happened. So there's another one. I said, can I have another one? And my friend was like, no, just hold on. Just wait. I don't want you to die. Then he said, okay, take another half. So he cut the half in, and I took another half, and I was waiting, and I remember looking over at him and I said, is this what they were talking about? 5 minutes later, I remember something happened to me, and I remember just sitting back in my chair going like, what the hell is going on? I remember going, oh my God, what is this for? All of a sudden, what he was talking about became so interesting. I was like, yes, carry on talking. And the conversation became so enlightening. The music sounded better, and it was just me and him in the room, me and a friend, and the game became interesting, and my whole world exploded. And I remember he had a gran that was an alcoholic. Shane, she used to wake up every night, she would go to sleep early, wake up at 11 in the evening, and she used to drink an old bottle of 1820 brandy. And we used to drink with her, but she'd get up at 11 at night and sit there drinking all the way till the morning. And I decided now I'm going to go converse with her. And I remember speaking to her for hours, and the conversation blew my mind. It was the most in-depth conversation I ever had. It was about her grandson skating in New Zealand, and I was just like, when I was grade 3, it was whatever. It was a mind-blowing experience for me. And I remember that feeling. It's that one particular evening. When I talk about it now, I still go back. I still know what that felt like. That evening, was that first time I'd ever been there. But I remember that feeling. Sometimes when I think about it, the hair on my arm stands up because it was such a powerful experience for me. And I don't want to sit here and be like, that was a bad experience. It was amazing. And obviously at about 6 a.m. the next morning, I wanted to kill myself. I don't know how many of you guys relate to that, but I was like, the only way out of this pain is suicide. Because I was so messed up the next morning, and my friends were trying to throw me in the pool and sober me up and get me okay so I could go home. And I went home, and I remember it was about a 2-day depression where I didn't feel okay. But as soon as I started to feel okay, I looked back at that feeling and I was like, oh my word, I need to get back there. That was incredible. And I look back in hindsight, once I had experienced life at that level, like at that level of intensity where it was that nice, it was so hard for me from that point to go back to normal everyday life. After that point, normal everyday life seemed so boring, mundane and glum for me. It's like that experience was you guys know. Like once you experience that, like why would I go now to a family lunch and sit and talk about, cousin Jim who just qualified in becoming a doctor? Like that doesn't interest me. I wanted to be up there. And so I did. My story is not one of great success, where I made thousands being successful and then lost it all. I didn't have anything from the beginning. Once I started using after school, I started using it, but it was really just a really fast downhill from there. I didn't really have any success. I had lots of relationships, lots of friendships, lots of family relationships that I lost after my progression really got quite bad. And then I look back, and there's certain examples for me that I didn't drink like other people in my circle. I definitely didn't drink like my ex-girlfriend. There's some things, some stories that reminded me of that when I think about that. She would say things like, hey Reece, let's get some drinks and have a day at the pool. Just relaxing. It's beautiful sunshine, just me and you, let's relax and drink. So I go, drink? Okay. So I go, it's amazing, let's have drinks by the pool. So I go to the bottle store, I get drinks, and we hang out at the pool, and she comes through with the Savannah Light stuff, and I had my beer there, and I remember this very clearly, another vivid memory that I look back on. I finished the beer, and this is what happens to me when I drink. It's like I finished the beer, and I look across at her, and she's like about that far down the Savannah Light. Okay, she's taking a few sips, reading a book, loving the sunshine. And I start feeling, I need to go get another drink. So I say, I'm going to go get another beer. So I get another beer and I come back and I drink that one really quickly, and I look over at her again, and she's chilling, still reading her book, and it's Savannah Life, and I'm almost halfway. She's just sipping it, enjoying the sunshine. And all that's going through my mind is what? I want another beer. So I go get another drink, and I come back and I have that beer. And she's still just chilling. On her first drink, enjoying the sunshine, enjoying the experience. And for me, what that was about was I just needed to go get another drink. But then I was very clever at that time, because I also knew that she had a problem with my drinking. So I knew now I've had 3 drinks, so I must wait about 20 to 25 minutes before I ask her for the next drink. So she doesn't think I'm obsessing about the drink. But if you notice, I'm pretty sure normal people don't think like that when it comes to alcohol, just by the way. If you thought we were normal. Normal people don't think like that, because she's not thinking like that. She's reading a book, enjoying the sunshine. I'm sitting there timing it out for the longest 25 minutes of my life, just waiting to go get another drink. I can't enjoy the sunshine because I just want to drink. And I remember going back to a fridge, and she used to promote these drinks called Omega, what's it? Whatever. They do lots of colourful drinks. Okay. And I would go, and I remember this time as well, I'd go and I open the fridge, and before I grab my beer, this is not normal behaviour. I open each one. And I sweep each one, dum, 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 dum. And then go take my beer and then go outside. And then we're sitting there and I'm starting to get now into that space we love, where I'm just feeling warm, my internals are warm, my throat's warm, I'm now like, this is nice, now I can enjoy the day at the pool. And this is how I know we're different, because around that point she's like, I want to go inside now and watch a movie. And I'm like, why would you do that? Why do you want to go inside and watch a movie now? She's like, no, sun's hot, I plan now, just go watch a movie. And she wanted to go inside and watch a movie, and all I could think about was, what? I want to drink. The day, it wasn't about a day at the pool, it wasn't about her, it wasn't about relaxing, it was about drinking for me. And that goes for every social setting of mine. When we used to go for bras, it's like everyone knows, the most important stop on the way to the bra is not for the meat. It was, what am I drinking tonight? And it was a trip to the bottle store. And sometimes if I got around to eating, then cool. But it was about, what am I drinking? And my circle of friends and her, they started getting really upset with me because I could not control myself when I went out. I could not control myself. I was the guy that was eventually, whenever we went out, I was the blackout drunk that was embarrassing myself. That was the story of my life. And for some reason, every time I blacked out, not proud to say it, but I used to take my clothes off. That's what I used to do. That's the type of drunk I was. I used to take my clothes off and then I'd walk. I'd walk out of someone's house, or walk on the street, or whatever. It was just embarrassing behavior that I was not aware of because I was blacked out. And then I started to see videos. That's what really hurts. I don't know if you guys relate to that, but when you get up in the morning and people are showing you, but you don't have any recollection of that experience. And that started happening for me, through my drinking. So she started getting upset with me. She wouldn't want to go out. She wouldn't want to go to friends' houses. She wouldn't want to wouldn't want me to drink. But obviously, I could not keep it together. And I just want to share something as well, because just around this time, what was so powerful for me and how this disease kind of gripped me was when I was teaching, because I decided to become a teacher because I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. So I got an internship at a school, and I went into the school and I thought, well, I'm going to stop using drugs now. I need to get my life together, because it's obviously a phase. So now I'm going to exit the phase and get my life together. And I remember teaching at the school, and I shared about this at work. Every new chapter I started in my life ended the same as well. So I started the work at the school and thinking this was going to make my life a little bit better and get me back on track. And when I started there, I was okay for 3 months. But after 3 months, I started using and drinking again, and I started using a lot of stimulants while trying to manage my work days at school. And for you guys that know stimulants, you struggle to sleep on them. So it was a really tragic time for both myself, for my family, and for the kids that I was teaching at the school, because I couldn't stop using. I really felt my powerlessness, and I just could not stop using. I remember I would use in the evening, I would use the substance that I was on, and then maybe get to sleep at 3 in the morning, and then wake up at 5:30, and I used to go to school and have to teach these kids, and I was so paranoid. Anyone being high and had like a class of 30 kids looking at you, it's not a pleasant experience, and I remember the kids used to look at me and say, Mr. White, why you got these black things under your eyes? And I used to say, it's because I'm marking your books all night, the work doesn't stop at 3 for me, I don't ask questions, it's because I'm busy, we work with you for you kids, whatever, but they started noticing, teachers started passing comments like, hey, you're getting thin, what's going on? And people started picking up certain things, and I remember, when the kids would go out to break, I would lock myself in the classroom and go to sleep, try and catch up on some sleep. I couldn't go to the staff room, I couldn't look teachers in the eye, I couldn't look people in the eye because I was so scared that people knew. So I just avoided people, and I was like isolating at school in that classroom. And then I remember I'd sit there at break sometimes, and this was powerless, because I'd go, Reece, today, go home, get the work done, get a decent night's sleep so that you can come to work tomorrow and function. You don't feel like this. And I'll go, cool, that's what I'm going to do. So I'd literally drag myself through the work day, drag myself. Tired, I can't do this, too hard, but get myself through it. When that bell went at 2:30, at the end of the day, I was like, made it through. And I feel good now. I got like the second win. And all of a sudden, the promise I made to myself in the morning was like, are you really just going to go home and chill? Is that what you want to do? Just go home and relax. Okay, no. Just stop before you go home. Just stop off at the DF place. And I remember that, and then I'll go straight after school. I got that second one. I'd go pick up again and repeat the cycle. And that's where I really started to experience the powerlessness. And it was after that whole period. I remember leaving the school. I told them I was going to go to China, which I didn't. But that was my excuse for resigning. And then a month after that, I landed up in treatment the first time. And then was the journey to finding out this from my head to my heart. Got in treatment, I learned all this stuff, and I really want to shortcut the story. But what I learned was my powerlessness in this stage of my life, where I'd been in treatment in and out for a couple of times, learning what this actually means through my experience. Sat with my sponsor in treatment the first time with this book, and he was telling me things like you're powerless and you need to stay a certain period of time. And I looked at him and I said to him, you show me a part in the big book where it says stay 3 months in treatment. Don't use that excuse, by the way, it doesn't work. So I said, you told me the spot in the big book that says I have to stay in treatment for 3 months. He's like, it's not there. So I said, exactly. You can phone my family, I'm going to go now. And he said, that's mad. He said, you're taking your war back. And I said, are you God? I said, you're not God. I'm going to go do it how the originals did it. The OGs. They were walking the streets. Not your own treatment, So this was a wild part of my life, because he said to me, Reece, if you like me and you leave, this is going to happen to you. A, B, C, and D. You're going to leave. See, because what I know now is he didn't know me very well, but he knew this disease a lot better than I knew. He said, if you leave, you're going to leave, and you may go on a pink cloud with your girlfriend for a while. Okay? You will feel good for a period of time. And through that time, you may get a job, and you'll start the job. But if you're like me, what's going to happen over a period of time sober for you is you're going to start feeling irritable, restless, and discontent. Life's going to be boring for you. And if you're like me, you're going to pick up again. And when you pick up again, you'll experience the powerlessness of the disease, and you'll continue drinking until eventually, hopefully, you find your way back into treatment. So that's what's going to happen to you if you're like me. I'm not saying you like me, but if you're like me, that's what's going to happen. So in typical fashion, like I've heard legions of alcoholics say before, now I'll show you. I'll be the one. They say we've never had one person. I was like, I'll be the one. I'll show you. I'm different. You guys don't know me. And within the space of 8 months, everything he said to me happened to the T. Exactly, to the T. Bang, 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 bang. It all happened exactly how he predicted. I went to Thailand for a long weekend, thinking I was going to move there with my ex. We left on a Friday, and we had this big plan to go move and live there because South Africa was my problem. I had just relapsed, so hopefully we're going to go start this new life in Thailand. We flew over there on a Friday together to go live there, and on Tuesday he was gone and I was back in treatment. So that was embarrassing, because I posted to my whole family and my life, look, we're going to go to Thailand together, and for a long weekend. She was crying on the bed, and I was outside on the balcony drinking beer and getting drunk. And eventually I reached out to a friend because I knew I wasn't okay, and came back and landed myself up in treatment again for 6 months. And this is now where I started to learn what they meant by I'm not. This next period of my attempt to get sober was when I connected with the latter part of this disease. Connected, in my heart, where I've got two problems with alcohol. Like, one happens obviously when I drink it, I can't stop. Once I take that first drink, that's me, I'm on the wagon. But the main part happens is when I put down the drink. When I stop drinking, now I've got a problem, because you've taken my solution away. And I didn't believe that. I thought if I put down a drink, I'm cool. I have problems because I drink, is what I thought. My life is the way because I drink. But I learned through this phase that when I put down drink, now I've got a problem. And I learned that because I spent 6 months in treatment, as I say, going through this book, and I left going, surely this time I'm okay. I've got it down. And this is a powerful example for me of this disease, because I left and I was at a restaurant down here in Scotland, and I was wiping the tables. My first week out of treatment, I was in the halfway house and I was looking out at the ocean. And there were whales, and the water was silver, like a glistening silver, nice sunny day. And I was wiping the tables with the cloth before shift, and I started like crying because I was so grateful to finally be out of treatment. 6 months is a long time in treatment, you know. And I was like, I finally got a job. Like, I get to see the ocean again. I remember feeling so overwhelmed with gratitude as I was wiping this table, and people were coming in, and I wanted to serve them. And it was a wonderful experience for me. I remember that feeling. Now this is untreated alcoholism, is what I learned. 3 months later, true story, at that restaurant one morning, I'm wiping the same tables outside, I'm looking out at the same ocean, in the same restaurant with the same manager, same people, and all I could think was I want to burn this place down, which everyone in this place must burn, the manager must burn, customers must burn. I can't handle this shit. The same stupid little town, Scotborough, there's one traffic circle, one road, but there's nothing in this town. I hate this place. I go pay rent at the halfway house and eat 2-minute noodles and mixed veg. That was my staple diet. You know, and in that time, again, what game I was playing was this is all a problem. You know, and I didn't realize now when I look back, I know what that is. It's untreated alcoholism, that over any period of time, I get worse, not better. Without a solution, I get worse. I get sober, I start feeling good, I think I'm okay, but any stretch of time sober, I started feeling irritable, restless, and discontent, and life became overwhelming for me. I look back now, that's untreated alcoholism without a program. I thought I knew what I was doing, but I knew up here, I didn't know yet. Yeah, you know, and at that time I was peacocking a lot. I was sharing to everyone about how amazing this program was, putting up a good front, because that's what I do. If I can just convince you guys that I'm okay, then I'm okay. So if I could just fool you enough to think that Reece is okay, then I'm actually okay. But I was actually playing myself, you know. Today I try to the best of my ability not to do that. Try to be as real as I can. To myself, you know, I try to have integrity in that regard. But if I presented to you that I was okay, then I was fine. If I spoke well, then I'm fine. You know? But that's how I came tumbling down when I relapsed. Because I relapsed after about 10.5 months sober, and I landed up in the sugarcane field with a bottle of Captain Morgan rum. I'd finished all my drugs. I was in the sugarcane field with an overwhelming sense of how the hell did this happen to me? You know, how the hell have I ended up here? The months of treatment, you know, the money my family put into me, the simplicity of my life. I was a waiter paying rent and just needed to eat and go to a meeting. It's too overwhelming for me. Someone asked me, Reece, why did you relapse? It was too hard. Like, what was too hard? You had to waiter and pay rent. You know, why are you complaining? It's too hard for me. What I know now is it wasn't that was too hard, it was this. You know, it was me, it was life, it was my inability to cope with myself that was too hard. You know, but I phoned the owner of the treatment centre. I didn't know how I was going to pay. I had no money. My family were exhausted, all their resources for me. I wasn't hardcore enough to live on the streets. I'm not a gangster like that, so I can't do that. So anyway, I phoned the owner and I said to him, I've relapsed. I'm in the cane fields outside. What should I do? He says, just drive up, come see me. So I drove up and I sat down in front of him. No idea how I was going to pay, no idea where I was going to go, no funds. I just had nowhere to go, just called out of hope. You know? And he gave me two options, and I look back at this moment with absolute gratitude. He said to me, Reece, you know, you can either get in your car, go out and carry on, or you can stay and see where we go. You know, I said to him, I can't go out there. Like, I just can't. Just keep me here, please. And I stayed. You know, and 5.5 months later, I stayed and still don't know how financially that worked out. I have no idea. But it was through God's grace and the grace of other people that came before me that gave me the chance. And I was so scared. This was just my experience. That 5 months later, my sponsor said, right, pack your stuff, you're going to the half house. And I said, I'm not going anywhere. He said, no, pack your stuff, you're going to the half house. I said, I'm not. I said, you can't send me out here. I'm too scared. I knew myself. Because one thing I connected with that time I came into treatment was when I sat on the steps one evening. I remember that, I think it was the second evening. I sat on the steps there at the front. I was crying. I was crying because I knew. And I didn't know yet. It's like I said, I knew yet. And one of the counselors came out to me and it was my sponsor in that period, and he said to me, what happened? I said, I don't know. I said, in my head, I thought I practiced everything. Thought I was doing H&R, I thought I was sharing. I never missed a step 11. This is a powerful thing that I learned. I never missed a step 11. I attended 6 meetings a week. I was sharing to people. I ticked all the boxes, I said to him. And I still got drunk. I still drank. And I said to him, I'm only here because I'm too scared to be out there. And I said to him, and I knew in my heart, I said, I know 100% without a doubt in my heart, I knew I was going to drink again. I knew I would drink again. If I didn't have a miracle that could work in my life in a way that I couldn't, I knew 100% I would drink again. That was my experience. I knew I was going to drink unless I had a miracle, that I could not manifest. You know how scary that is? Like, I knew that to be true. I was like, I'm done. There was no Reece, you're going to fix this time. It was, I'm finished, And ironically, from that moment, thank God, I've never had a drink. Not through my strength, not through my strength at all. Because the guy I am, that guy that was in the sugarcane fields, the guy that was crying in treatment, the guy that spent months in treatment and still couldn't stay sober, I didn't do this on my strength, All I did every day was, I just did what my sponsor said. The sponsor said, stay another month. I was like, cool. Stay another month. I said, cool. And I didn't have a lot of joy in the beginning. I had a lot of confusion. I had a lot of fear. My fear experience in recovery lasted about 18 months. I had crippling anxiety and fear probably for about 18 months in early recovery. That was just my experience. Other people have different experiences, but mine was a long journey of anxiety and fear. But thank God I stuck around and I learned some valuable lessons through that and remained sober. But in my early recovery, I was thinking about this when I was driving to the meeting, I eventually got called back to work at the treatment centre or volunteer. And all I did, when I say 7 days a week, I mean 7 days a week. That's what I did. I volunteered 7 days a week. In the weekdays, I would garden and paint. That's what I did. And on the weekends, I would hang out with Keith in the office and make him tea and just help around where I could. In the afternoons, paint again. For 7 days a week, that's all I did every single day for at least 6 months. And I used to have this thing where in the evening, because I was living in a garage, but I had this routine where I would light a candle every evening next to my bed, and I'd get on my knees, and all I used to pray in those first few days, I would say, God, please, I don't care where I am in life or what goes on in my life, I don't care how bad it gets or what goes on, please just keep me away from that mad place where I think it's okay or it's an idea again to drink. Please just keep me away from that place that I knew so well. I was like, I don't want to end up there. If you could gift me that, just this freedom from that place where I lose choice, that's enough for me right now. Every night I used to lie down and I'd lie on my bed and I'd look at this candle, And I used to do that religiously every single night, and I'd meditate, just thinking about that and reminding myself of who I was. And I found comfort through that place because my life wasn't ideal. I didn't earn money for at least 2 years in recovery. I didn't have an income or salary. I just worked and was of service. There was no money. I didn't have enough money to even buy myself a pair of shoes. But, I remember those evenings when I sat there in a period of meditation, I'd look at the candle. At the back of my mind, what started to happen is I knew I was going to be okay. If I kept doing this. I knew if I kept doing this and if I kept sincere in my heart and I connected with who I was and I kept doing this, I started finding peace that this was going to be okay. And I started finding after that 18-month period, my dad died suddenly at 18 months. That was the single biggest thing in my life that changed my perspective on life. Tragic event, but my dad's death was what gave me the biggest appreciation for life. Prior to that, I took life for absolute granted. I thought I was always going to get another day. I thought time was endless. When my dad died, I started to realize that you've got one life, as far as and every day is an absolute gift, and I started to connect with that. But as my recovery went on, I started to, I suppose, connect and find peace in this process. And this is what I try and tell people that are, again, I'm not far down the line, but especially my sponsees in early recovery, I said, just stick around. Just stick around. I left treatment. I thought my life must be better in 6 months. Where's the gifts? Where's the promises? I'm 6 months sober now. Why do I still feel the way I feel? Why am I still anxious? Why do I still struggle? It's like, I just stuck around. That's all I had to do was just stick around, keep coming back, stay involved, stay plugged in. And what I learned through that process is God was working something in my life that I wasn't aware of, And my life started to unfold in a way that I couldn't predict. I got asked if I wanted to go train to be a counselor. I said, okay, cool, I'll try that. Then started training to be a counselor. Then got a job as a training counselor. Then started studying. I finished 2 things, another gift of recovery. Finished 2 degrees, if you want to call them that, in recovery. I learned commitment and dedication. I learned what it meant to study without rippling. That was an interesting thing. I had a concentration span of like 5 minutes. So all I could do was get up in the mornings, and I learned that in the morning. See, because you learn stuff in recovery. So I learned in recovery, if I just get up in the morning, I've got, my mind's like a sponge, and there's 10 minutes where I can study and all the information I retain. For 10, after that, it's gone. But 10 minutes I got, So I remember studying for my final exam, and I studied every single morning. This was recovery again. Every single morning for 10 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes every single morning for about 7 to 8 months. Because all I could do was 10 minutes. Well, that's how I did it. I chugged away. Just chugged away. And I wrote my final exam and my final council exam and passed it. And I learned the value of hard work and no shortcuts and dedication in that regard. And then I've gone on to just have an amazing experience after that in recovery. I've had the opportunity to make amends to my family. I made amends to my dad a month before he died. I had the opportunity to tell him, that's not his fault that I was the way I was. I had a long conversation with him in a car where I said, I'm really sorry, Dad. And a month later he died. But in that 18-month period, I had the best time with my dad I've ever had in my life. We swam together, we fished together, we hung out together. We did all the things he didn't do with us when we were kids. Got an opportunity to do that in the 18 months with my dad. I had the opportunity to sit down with my brother, a person I was jealous of, resentful towards, hateful towards. I sat down with him on a beach in Salt Rock for about 3 hours, and we had a discussion about our life. Had a discussion about our lives, and we went through our past, all from the time we were kids, and we shared that for 3 hours on the beach, and after 3 hours got to make amends to him, and today he's my best friend, best friend, better than any friend I could have ever asked for, my brother, my older brother, and just such a special experience. I had the opportunity to make amends with my mom in the same way, sat down with her and shared that experience with her. And today I'm not the source of chaos in my family. I'm not the source of all the madness, not the source of all the chaos. They're free of that, today, thankfully. And where my journey has taken me now is in active addiction. I went to Thailand for a long weekend and got drunk. And now 5 years later, I've got the opportunity to go back and work in a treatment facility. On a small island off the coast of Thailand, so hopefully this is God saying, like, Reece, go do it differently, And obviously I'm in a place this past month of a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, but Keith said it to me, we're driving up to work one day, and he said to me, isn't it amazing what this program allows you to do, Because I thought this program was going to trap me in meetings every day, step 11s, and it was a prison sentence, but it's so far from it. It's like as my recovery's gone on, I've learned that there's so much more freedom to this, that this is opening my life up to do whatever I want to do, and that's freeing for me. I've got the opportunity to try today. At least go try. And if I fail, like someone said to me, so if you fail, that's it, that's the experience. You go, if it doesn't work, you come back, it's like, at least you went. It's like, just go do it. It's just why you live. Don't live in fear, Reece. Addiction traps you. Don't live there anymore. Go try. And that's the biggest thing I've got through this program is just the ability to live my life and try again. And I believe God says to me, this is what I believe in my heart. God made a deal with me. He said, Reece, you'll never have to drink again. You'll never have to drink again. I'll take that obsession away from you, but there's one thing you've got to do, and that's in step 12. He says there's one thing you have to do in return, though. If you don't want to drink again, you have to help other people. That's my deal. I'll take that away from you, but if you stop thinking about yourself, you've got to go help other people. That's God's deal. Reece, don't think about yourself. Step 12 says you go help other people, practice principles in all your affairs. If you can, I'll take away that obsession to drink. You'll never have to do that again. But the deal is you've got to go help other people. I can't come into recovery and be selfish, because I did me for a long time. And I can still be very selfish, I know that, but I know that's a deal with God. Step 12 is about once I'm done, I have to go and help other people. So yeah, I'm just very grateful. I think I'm going to sum it up there because I could talk for ages on the experiences that recovery has given me. But yeah, just in closing, I've spoken to a lot of people lately with a lot more time than me, and that's what I've learned, is find people that have more time than you, that have been around for a long time. Because some people say, oh, it's a quality, not the quantity. Like that's what I said, like when I was in USA, it's not about the quantity of your rights, it's about the quality. But I've learned people with quantity just have more experiences. They do. They've got experiences I don't have at 1 year sober. And I can either sit there arrogantly, like I have in the past, sometimes with real arrogance about recovery, or I go, I need to learn from people who have been through what I've been through, where I'm at in recovery. And if I can find people like that and sap what they've got to give me out of them, like just grab as much as I can, then that's going to help me. That's going to help me continue along this journey. Yeah. Thank you.